Hi. Hello again. Welcome to my abode where, once again, I hold you captive and ramble about Barbie movies. It's one of my favorite pastimes. Talking about Barbie movies, I mean, not holding people captive. So, last time I put out a video on my top 10 favorite Barbie movies, and to complete the saga, today we're talking about my least favorite ones. The bottom 10, the worst of the worst. I am here to be evil, to be nasty, and to be rude. And, hopefully be a little entertaining too, if I'm lucky. The last video isn't like required watching or anything, but it is suggested, if for nothing else, to say that I do hold quite a lot of these movies in high regard. I'm not here to critique the concept of Barbie movies because I love Barbie movies. I think they are wonderful and beautiful and amazing, and all Barbie movies are queens. However, not all Barbie movies are created equal. And when you rank things, naturally there are some ones that end up at the bottom. That's statistics, aggregation. Which is to say that I fully understand that many of these movies are extremely special to a lot of people. Like I said in the last video, everyone has their Barbie movie. And I think that is such a beautiful concept. In this video, though, there's a chance that I might feature a movie that you love and enjoy and hold dear to your heart, and I will say I dislike it. I might even say I hate it. I promise this is not a personal attack. It's all for fun. I'm not here to insult anyone's taste levels. I'm truly, honestly, just here to have fun. Lots of people disagreed with my top 10, and I still love them. I imagine some people will disagree with my bottom 10 too, and I will be fine, because it's just not that serious. Ironically, I do think this list will be a little less controversial than my favorites, because I really do think there is a pretty general consensus, almost, on which Barbie movies are considered pretty bad, or just generally pretty unliked. There might be a few surprises, though. There's one that I know for sure might upset some people, because I saw quite a number of people include it among their favorites in the comments of my last video, and I was just reading those like, oh no, I'm so sorry in advance. I'm so sorry. But yes, I don't want to spend too long on the disclaimers. I just want to trust that people will know what they're getting into when they watch an opinions-based ranking video. So let's go ahead and get into it. Here are my top 10 least favorite Barbie movies. Number 10. Barbie Princess and the Pop Star from 2012. Yeah, this is the one I think is going to be pretty contentious. I will say, though, for the bottom half of this list, from number 10 to number 5 or so, they're not movies I would ever say I hate. They're not even movies I would say are, like, objectively bad, really, even if I do have major complaints about them. If someone told me their favorite Barbie movie was this one, I wouldn't argue. I wouldn't question their mental faculties. I would just assume that we have very, very different tastes. But there are things I like about this movie. I understand why it would be someone's favorite. The animation is good, the character designs are fun, the music is, I would say, also pretty good. I liked most of the songs. Tori and Kira also have a lot of fun chemistry. It's also heavily referential to Princess and the Pauper, which is quite a lot of people's favorite Barbie movie. However, what really annoys me about this movie every time I watch it... Okay, so Barbie's age is sometimes pretty ambiguous in these movies. Usually it's safe to assume that she's around 17, though. That's like the average Barbie movie protagonist age. I don't remember if they ever state or specify her age in this one, but I am pretty sure it's around 17. And being movies aimed at a pretty young audience, Barbie doesn't always act like a typical 17-year-old, but she does usually act believably like a teenager or a young adult. In this movie, though, both characters acted like toddlers. They acted like babies. They were so whiny and ungrateful and honestly just really annoying and made terrible decisions throughout the entire movie that were completely motivated just by being selfish and entitled. And I don't even think cartoon movie leads should necessarily always be role models. It's just the fact that the movie is completely unaware of it. It completely lacks self-awareness of how terrible the lead characters are. Okay, so one is a princess, one is a pop star, hence the title, and they're like both fed up with the pressure and responsibilities of their lives, but their lives are great. They even have a whole musical number, a rendition of a song from Princess and the Pauper about how incredible and luxurious and amazing their lives are. They're both just so monumentally irresponsible and spoiled that they create their own problems. And you may think, oh, but isn't that the moral of the movie? That wanting someone else's life makes me unable to see how good my own life really is? No, these two never really go through any, significant character growth or learn any valuable lessons, except maybe that the ruling class should help poor people or something. And don't get me wrong, I love a flawed protagonist, but it's really frustrating when a movie doesn't acknowledge a protagonist's flaws. I also did not like the villain of this movie. He's just very weird and forgettable and honestly weirdly uncomfortable to watch, which maybe was the point, but I just did not enjoy him. Number 9, Barbie and Her Sisters in The Great Puppy Adventure from 2015. I hate these puppies. I hate these puppies so much. So around 2015, Barbie transitioned into a new era. That is really its own subject. I've actually made quite a lot of videos on it. Barbie movies never really had a central canon before, or an ongoing storyline. They're all their own self-contained stories and also carry the implication that Barbie herself is the actress playing all of these different characters, or her friends are playing different characters. In this era, though, Barbie is now just your average teenage girl. Very pointedly so. She is also something of an influencer, because these movies use the same Barbie as the one from the Barbie vlogs Mattel started posting around this time too. And there also is now a centralized canon, but it's just a change that I always found very jarring, personally, going from all of these beautiful, fantastical princess movies to Barbie and Her Sisters in suburbia. I've warmed up to these modern movies more over time, though. I think there's some good ones, especially after they introduce Brooklyn into the cast a few years after this one comes out. But I'm rambling. All this unnecessary context is just to say that this movie is the first one in this new era. It started it all, and for that reason, I guess I've just always held a grudge. Also, on a personal note, I tend to not like Barbie movies that heavily focus on her sisters, as you will see. Because, look, I like Skipper, Chelsea, and the third one. They're all great, but it takes a lot of focus off of Barbie, and also when these three are in a movie with her, they tend to force Barbie into a very, maternal sort of role. She can't really engage with the plot too much because she's giving Skipper life advice or mediating a fight between Chelsea and the third one. And some people might like that, but I just don't find it very fun to watch. This movie isn't all bad, though. It features Barbie traveling to her hometown of Willows, Wisconsin, which is actually an established fun fact about Barbie, that she lived in Willows before she moved to Malibu. So there's a few references here and there to some, classic Barbie lore, including an appearance by the iconic Christie, even if she did show up just to, like, be sad and poor. And I'll admit, it is kind of cool to see Barbie go all National Geographic, National Treasure, the Nicolas Cage one. The movie itself was just, like, super meandering. It went on and on and on just to give us more scenes with those puppies who were barely even plot relevant, by the way. They're just kind of there. It is the most unsubtle marketing ploy I think I have ever seen in a Barbie movie, just putting puppies in your movie like you're jingling keys in front of kids' faces. Number 8, Barbie Spy Squad from 2016. This one pains me. This one hurts because this is a movie I want to love so badly because I think it's such a good concept. I want to live my Totally Spies fantasy with Barbie so bad. But this is a movie that is just, like, at war with its premise, I think. It wants to be an action spy movie, but it's so reluctant to portray any kind of action or violence or fighting or espionage at all, so it resorts to a lot of slapstick humor. It wants its protagonists to be quirky and relatable, so they can't be too competent at being spies. So they spend a lot of the movie just being clumsy and bad at their jobs and fumbling their missions. It was just so completely uncommitted to being a spy movie that it ended up being pretty boring. It does sort of pick up in its last act, but getting there is such a slog and just not very fun, which is so disappointing because how do you take the idea, Barbie being a super spy, and make it so boring? Like, that's something you have to actively go out of your way to do because you're already starting high. You have an incredible premise, and then you just slowly chip away everything that would have made this a fun, high-energy movie, and also would have been very different from all the other Barbie movies, too. Like, this could have ended up being one of the most unique Barbie movies of the entire lineup. But because you didn't want to be a spy movie for some reason, you just ended up with something that's actually very generic and not very exciting. Like, that's just my biggest takeaway with this movie, that it's very boring, and it doesn't engage with its premise or its source material nearly as much as it should have. And I think that is one of the worst things a movie can be. Painfully mediocre. Also, this movie has some of the worst Barbie movie dolls ever. And I mean that, just absolutely horrible dolls. Just absolutely horrible. Bad decisions all around. Number 7, Barbie and Princess Power from 2015. I might end up repeating myself a little because I have a lot of the same criticisms for this one as I did for Spy Squad. Because once again, we have a really good premise. Barbie as a superhero. We start strong and then everything just goes downhill. Because just like I said with Spy Squad, this is a superhero movie that is just so thoroughly uninterested in being a superhero movie. It is a movie where the plot moves along in spite of its premise rather than being because of it. You can also tell this movie came out during a very transitional period for Mattel because they're very caught between these different portrayals of Barbie. They want her to be pretty, glamorous, Princess Barbie, but also forward-thinking and active and precocious. And it feels like an overcorrection, or rather fixing a problem that was never really a problem, because there weren't any glaring issues with Barbie in the older movies. She was always progressive and intelligent and capable, so it's just very weird. Also a little unpleasant and kind of detrimental to Barbie's character too. Or Kara, I guess, for the purposes of this movie. The entire cast, actually, is just not very likable. Except for Corinne. I love Corinne because I love her character archetype. But the twins were very annoying. Made worse by the fact they have some of the most garish and unfortunate character designs I have ever seen in a Barbie movie. but they got on my nerves so bad. Oh my god. There's this whole conflict about Kara putting off building a community garden because she's too busy being a superhero. And the twins act like she's losing sight of what's important, letting the fame get to her. Meanwhile, she's literally saving people from, like, burning buildings. Like, some things I think are just a little more important than a vegetable garden at the moment. That whole subplot was so weird. Also, the villain is portrayed as this, like, bumbling, inept idiot, which of course means there never feels like there's any real stakes until a volcano erupts and lava threatens to consume the entire city. But it's okay, because the animators literally forgot about the lava after that was said and done. It just disappeared. Also, some pettier criticisms. Super Sparkle is a terrible superhero name. Awful. Awful. And the animation in this movie was so bad, too, which is bizarre. It came right after Secret Door, which is one of the most beautifully animated Barbie movies, in my opinion. But they changed Barbie's model for this one, and she just looks bad, like really bad, and just unpleasant to look at. Number 6, Barbie Presents Thumbelina from 2009. I don't know what it is about this movie, but it just does not stay in my head. Like, unless I'm actively doing a video like this one where I have to acknowledge it, I completely forget it exists. And I've watched it a few times, but even now, I'm just like, oh my god, I'm struggling to think of anything to say about it. It is truly, in my opinion, just the most forgettable Barbie movie. It has a good message. I remember that. It's very pro-environment. That's important. That's good for kids to learn about. It just almost feels like this was somehow pitched and conceptualized and created as its own movie, like just an original animated movie, but somewhere along the line, they added Barbie in to get some brand recognition, which I know is not what happened, but that's just what it feels like. And not even like Barbie Diaries, where there's not any other movies quite like it, but it still feels distinctly like a Barbie movie, because it doesn't feel like a Barbie movie. And I don't know if that's necessarily a fair criticism, but also the movie is just really boring. I also don't know if I want to engage with the fact that Mattel is putting out a movie that's supposed to teach lessons about anti-consumerism and caring for the environment. I mean, I guess they did package the Thumbelina dolls in recycled cardboard packaging, but then they immediately went back to plastic packaging. So it is also a Barbie movie that just does not look very good. The Twillerby character designs are weird and uncanny, and also the human designs are weird and uncanny. No one wins here. Number 5, Barbie Video Game Hero from 2017. This is another one where it's not necessarily that I hate the movie itself. I just hate that it could have been a lot better. Like, easily, it could have been a lot better. You're probably sensing, like, a running theme here, right? With movies from this era, where Mattel was attempting to take these concepts that were, especially at this time, more associated with boys. Science fiction, super spies, superheroes, video games, and attempting to make them more accessible and welcoming to young girls, which I can say is a good thing. In theory, it just, again, comes down to coming off like it doesn't really want to engage with these things. Starlight Adventure is an exception, by the way. That movie was very committed to being a sci-fi movie, and it's a really good movie for it. Video Game Hero, I do like that it portrays Barbie as a developer, a coder, but the movie's idea of coding is also just not based in any sort of reality, which I think fully defeats the purpose. And I understand that it had to simplify some concepts for kids, obviously, but if you want to encourage girls to pursue hobbies like coding and game development, then I think it's important to actually portray what doing that is like. There's also the fact that all the video games that the movie features are extremely stereotypically girly and casual games. And I know I'm towing a very fine line here, because I don't want to imply that these games are, like, not as good or not as valid as games that are more mature or action-oriented. It really is that this movie is just very obviously written by people who have maybe played Candy Crush a few times in their life, so it's not exactly pulling its weight as far as portraying video games go. I did like that the movie got more experimental with its animation styles in order to portray different genres of video games, but again, the choice of video games it chose to showcase just felt very patronizing, I guess. I'm not saying I needed Barbie to be blasting demons and Doom or like doing fatalities in Barbie Mortal Kombat or anything, but they definitely could have done a lot more. There was also a ton of Just Dance product placement in the movie, to the point that this whole movie just felt like a very long commercial for Just Dance. And I know all Barbie movies are technically very long toy commercials, but it was just so blatant that it was actually pretty jarring and very weird. Number 4, Barbie Mermaid Power from 2022. Man, it pains me to put a mermaid movie on this list, but that's also part of why it's on this list, because it takes a lot of audacity to make a mermaid movie and then make it not very good. This movie is also sort of a sequel to Barbie Dolphin Magic, which is a movie I actually like quite a lot. It's one of my favorite movies from, this modern era of Barbie, but it absolutely does not hold up to its predecessor. Not even a little bit. This might be, I think, one of the worst written Barbie movies. Not in the sense that the script is terrible. Like, it's not great, but it's not unwatchable. The dialogue is very, by the books for any post-2015 Barbie movie. It's just the fact that this movie literally makes no sense. You can argue that it's a kid's movie, and therefore it doesn't need to make sense. But there are, 264 other Barbie movies with plots that do, in fact, make sense? So it really has no excuse. I guess I can give it credit for being imaginative. It's definitely creative. Very creative, yeah. But I would have appreciated it a lot more if the movie was not, again, so very boring. Just an hour of, nonsense, and not even fun nonsense. Boring nonsense. And I appreciate that they're, making an effort to return to more fantasy-oriented plots, but they do also need to be fun. We do need fun. Also, the sisters, Skipper, Chelsea, and the third one are there too. Yay. Number 3, Barbie and the Third One to the Rescue from 2024. So Barbie's been doing this thing recently where she puts out movies that feature one of her sisters as a protagonist, and Barbie herself takes on a more supporting role, which I am not wholly against. I don't typically like movies that heavily feature Barbie's sisters, but I acknowledge that there's an audience for them. Probably. Chelsea's movie, The Lost Birthday, was weird, but not entirely terrible. I think it was also intentionally aimed at an even younger audience than usual. Skipper's movie, also not the worst. It wasn't very interesting, but it did heavily feature Tammy, who is this generation of Barbie's Raquel-esque figure. And she is not Raquel, nor will she ever be Raquel. But I just have a soft spot for, the mean girl rival type. Now, this movie, it's already at a major disadvantage because it focuses on the least interesting Barbie sister. And what's really bad is that I think this movie knew that. Because it has maybe the barest suggestion of a plot, the faintest whisper of a beginning, a middle, and an end. And the rest of the movie is just generic pop song musical montages and puppies. More puppies. Because we really need to see those puppies every 5 seconds. We need a minimum of 2 puppies on screen at all times, or kids might realize they're watching a bad movie. Also, oh my god, it's been 10 years. Are these puppies ever gonna grow up? This movie realized it had a problem with centering itself around the third Barbie sister, and they figured the solution to make her more likable was to make literally everyone else in the movie incredibly unlikable. Whether they're just abrasive or annoying or unrealistically stupid to the point it puts them in mortal peril. I guess it accomplishes what it needs to, though, because the third one is actually the only halfway decent character in this movie, which is absolutely the worst metric you could ever rate Barbie movie characters by. So it really is just like a solid hour of being annoyed. Not just bored this time, but actively annoyed. If not by the characters, then by the really, really bad songs. Number 2, Barbie: A Perfect Christmas from 2011. Have you ever wanted to watch a movie where literally nothing happens? Then here you go. So I mentioned in my last video that I don't like Christmas movies because I usually just find them to be very generic in their plots and their messages or their characters. Like, they're just all the same to me, and this movie is really no exception. This movie is the platonic ideal of a Christmas movie. It is a Christmas movie stripped down to its most bare essentials and absolutely nothing else of value. It's also a movie about Barbie and her sisters, because of course. I know I said Thumbelina didn't feel like a Barbie movie, but this one really didn't feel like a Barbie movie. The lead could be literally any other woman, and nothing would change. This movie was just about some lady caring for the 3 most annoying children on Earth while stranded in the woods, inhabited by some kind of Christmas-worshipping cult family. And that is a very generous description because I assure you, the movie is not nearly as interesting as that makes it sound. You could cut out every sequence in this movie where someone chases after a dog in the snow, and I think this movie would actually be about 20 minutes long. Like, this isn't a movie. This is a montage of badly animated dogs running through the snow with, like, some plot tenuously stringing them together. like I can't even rag on it for too long because there's nothing to rag on. There's nothing to talk about. This is just such an absolutely nothing movie. And now, the dubious honor of my least favorite Barbie movie ever goes to number 1, Barbie and Her Sisters in a Puppy Chase from 2016, which, yes, is a movie about Barbie and her sisters and puppies. I think this is the only movie where I can say that Barbie actually deserves to be in prison. She deserves to be arrested for this. I cannot think of another movie where I was just like actively rooting against Barbie for the entire time. Everything that goes wrong in this movie was directly Barbie's fault. She was a menace in this one, not only to her sisters, whose lives she put in danger multiple times, but just a menace to society in general. Do you know how badly you have to portray Barbie to make me feel sorry for her sisters? Oh my god. If you haven't watched this one, it's about Barbie getting her sisters stranded in the jungle and consistently doing everything wrong that could have saved or helped them. There's a point in the movie where Barbie, she's like, let's play the imagination game. Let's just imagine that we're not lost and starving and sleeping on the ground. And it's portrayed as like this cute, positive sequence when it is like actually really horrifying. There's also this whole plot of Barbie like not letting Chelsea practice her dance, because they're there for Chelsea's dance competition, by the way. She constantly refuses to let her do anything related to the reason they are there on the island. Which also, I thought this movie took place in Hawaii, but I misremembered. Upon rewatching, I realized that they never actually specify the location. They just say the island, which is weird. Anyways, due to Barbie's criminal antics, Chelsea actually misses her competition, and she should have been disqualified. They were literally handing another girl her trophy when Chelsea showed up. They decided to give her a chance, and she gets on the stage with dancing horses that they met in the movie. Because how is that allowed? How is that fair? Also, she wins. Oh, yes, there's dancing horses, and they talk. That's a whole subplot. The message of this movie is that you can't always count on things to go as planned, which, sure, but it gets to a point, right? I don't think I should ever feel, like, angry when watching a Barbie movie. That shouldn't happen. But this is such a supremely frustrating movie. If Barbie can't be arrested for criminal neglect and child endangerment, she should at least be arrested for that outfit. And there we have it, my top 10 least favorite Barbie movies. It is now, of course, your turn. I'm giving you permission to go down there in the comments and let me know which Barbie movies you hated. Are there any you've always hated? Are there any you've, like, rewatched and realized they weren't as good as you remembered? How do you feel about the more recent Barbie movies? Do you find them to be worse than the older ones? Whatever's on your mind, tell me all about it. I am giving you permission to be rude and nasty and evil. Only to Barbie, though, not to me. But when you're done with all of that, just be sure to like and subscribe for any future Fashion Doll content. And remember, keep it cute.